Thank you very much for bringing the film here to New York and for letting the New York Jewish Film Festival premiere the US premiere of this film. And I would like to begin our conversation with asking you how exactly your interest began in this particular conflict. And maybe give some context around sort of the history of the Kurdish struggle in that region.
The real context is not only the Kurdish struggle, it is the terrorism. It is Charlie Hebdo attack against Charlie Hebdo, attack against Hyper Cacher grocery in Paris, murder of the little Jewish girl in Toulouse, this world offensive of ISIS against civilization and Jews and civilization in general. And I was like many of my countrymen and women wondering what to do, how to react. We all, in France, in America, have this question obsessing us. And even more for an intellectual, what can I do? And I knew that there were in the world, somewhere remotely, a people who were doing a big part of the job for us, who were resisting against Daesh, who were making a living barrier, frontier, wall of flesh and blood against ISIS. And I just wanted to join them. I just wanted to bear testimony for them. I just wanted to bear a little higher their flag. Because at the end of the day, the only one to really fight against ISIS were for a long time. Now there is the Iraqi army, some special forces of America. But when I made this film in 2015, they were the only one paying with their lives, own lives, the resistance against the terrorism, the jihadism, and the third, fascism. So this was my motivation. And this was a great picture. The little picture was a little more odd in a sense. I went to Kurdistan to make a reportage, a story for a French magazine. And I fell in love with these people. I was on the front lines already, not like here, and I thought these women and men were so great, so brave, so decent, so modest. And I brought 7 of their commanders, including General Ajar, who is here, whom you saw at the beginning, to whom you paid homage, in Paris. I introduced them to my president, President Hollande, which was a very odd act, by the way, by President Hollande to receive 7 non-politicians, non-chief of states, not even politicians, militaries of a country which is not quite a country. It was very original and bold, audacious gesture. But Hollande did that. And it was, I think, at the end of this day, March 2015, that the idea stemmed to follow them, to devote a little part of my life, 5 months, 6 months, back and forth, with them, to testimony for them. So this was the birth of the idea.
So as we saw in the end of the film, you say that the fight goes on, the war isn't over. I wanted to know if you could speak a little bit about what has happened since 2015 till now. I was very surprised to see the aerial footage of Mosul, which looked incredibly peaceful with traffic and people on the street, and this situation clearly has completely changed now.
What happened since that, of course, I can tell you, and I will tell you more maybe next year if you invite me again.
You're always welcome.
For the new movie, I'm just finishing now, which is called The Battle of Mosul. Just before coming here in New York, a few days ago, I was again in Kurdistan. I was in Iraq also, and I was in Mosul, inside the city of Mosul, where I am in the process of shooting a second movie, which title is The Battle of Mosul. So this, and it's even very strange for a man and for a writer like me or a movie maker. I made this movie, the one you just saw, turning around Mosul for 5 months, from Zartik to Bashika to other places, all that you saw, sending drones, bringing my drones back, giving the image to the fighters, going to another village, all around Mosul. And this object of my concern, not of my desire, but of my concern, it happens that a few months after, I am in the middle of it. And what do I see? What happens in Mosul? Number one, the Kurds, who did the biggest part of the job of the Battle of Mosul. The most difficult part was done by some of the commanders whom you saw in the movie. You will find them again in the new movie. They are the same. Commander Yazdan Pana, Commander Barzani, Commander Ajar, here present, and others the same. They opened the gates of the cursed, of the damned city. They opened the gates of Nineveh, like in the Bible. As you know, Mosul is the modern name of Nineveh, the city of Jonah, to which, by the way, I devoted the biggest chapter of my just released book, The Genius of Judaism. The biggest part is about Jonah, is about Nineveh, is about what it means for a Jew to go to Nineveh. And it happens that I was all around and now I'm inside. So the Kurds, who opened the gates of Mosul. Number two, a very fierce battle inside the city between Iraqi soldiers who are good but not Peshmerga, and ISIS, who is as bad as you can see in this movie, but nevertheless fighting with the energy of the despair because they have the back on the wall. No way out. So they fight in a slightly different way. And third thing, you see a huge city, in the state of what you saw in the movie in Sinjar, a ghost town, completely destroyed, but destroyed not by the bombs, it's not Aleppo, destroyed by evilness of man, destroyed by cruelty and stupidity of barbarians. Mosul, I saw that people are victims of a sort of intimate and inner physical depression, which is due to the non-spirit of Daesh. Very interesting to see, though big sorrow, of course. You cannot be in Mosul today without being yourself really depressed. So that's the situation after.
Well, it's very hard for us who live here in New York to imagine the situation there. And you sort of really take us on a road trip to hell, if you will, and the atrocities are sort of almost overbearing. And I thought it was extremely touching how you focused on the story of the general, the young general with the white hair, really bringing across this sort of personal element that exists there, which I think we never really can grasp or capture, being so far away from it. And we read about it on the internet and newspapers, we see it on television, but this sort of personal relationship to it is really something that is difficult for us to grasp.
For me, it is even now probably even more difficult to grasp personally, because as you saw in the movie, this very strange thing happened. For the first time in my life, I said to a man, God bless you, God protect you. I had such a strange presentiment, such a strange premonition. I'm not superstitious. I don't believe in that. I'm the most rational human being on Western Earth. And suddenly, in front of this man, in front of his candor, innocence, and bravery, I was struck by a terrible premonition. Really, I saw a lot of things, I did a lot of things in my life, it never happened to me. To say to a man, maybe you are going to die. And to speak to him like a rabbi, saying him, God bless you. And my friends, my team, when we went out of his little hut, when we went to our next step of our trip, they told me, but are you crazy? What happened to you? Now you say to a general, God bless you. Have you lost your mind? And I said, yeah, you're right. This is absolutely ridiculous. But I was obsessed by that during days and days. Obsessed by him, obsessed by this face, obsessed by this incredibly beautiful image of this Muslim commander shaving himself in music. As you know, for the crazy guys of Daesh, there is two interdictions, to shave and to listen to music. These are the two things. Someone who listens to music is beheaded, and sometime who shaves himself makes a blasphemy. So this image of this young, brave, and devoted Muslim, he's a real Muslim in the depth he was, a devoted and a worshipper of Islam, who shaving himself in music. And I was obsessed by that. And when he died, in front of the camera, as you saw, of course it is one of the, how would I say, it is the sort of moments when you even ask yourselves questions about the responsibility of the morality of a filmmaker, of the image and so on. Same when my cameraman was wounded. I can dare to say that it is till now one of the worst days in my life. I had, as all of you, my parts of sorrow and of suffering, intimate, personal, and so on. This moment, a young cameraman, having decided to make a film because he trusted me, because we believed in the same cause, because he believed in the idea of a Frenchman and a Jew to bear testimony of the fight of his people. And the moment when this man is heavily wounded at the edge of dying because of that, believe me, I do not wish that for my worst enemy. You go through terrible hours, terrible days, terrible weeks. Thanks God, as you saw at the end of the movie, he is the one who is walking with his charming lady, Eli Love. He recovered, he's okay now. And he's so okay that in the new movie I was telling you about, Battle of Mosul, he is again on board. He is again working at my side. He is one of the two cameramen with whom I do that. So but these sort of moments which are unimaginable before, which come to your head like a thunderstorm. You cannot grasp them yourself. You cannot prospect them. When I began this movie, I really did not know what I was going to find. It is the principle of any road movie. What is a road movie if not a sort of blind date with a big strip of road, 1,000 kilometers of strip of road, blind date with that. I did 2 blind dates in my life, one with America, when I did American Vertigo, and one in Kurdistan, when I did Peshmerga. So you have no idea of what will happen. And when what happens is pure tragedy, the death of the young general and the heavy wound of my cameraman, it is like a thunderstorm. There is no, comme la foudre. C'est la foudre. I don't know how to say la foudre. Lightning who falls on your head.
In my brief introduction, I mentioned a film that you made about the war in Bosnia in the mid-90s, and the film that you made in Libya. And I wanted to know where you see the connections and relationships between these 3 films that all seem to be about independence, struggle for independence, oppression, liberation. Where do you see the relationships beyond that, having done those films?
Relationship number 1, they are part of an old story I tried to relate since I am a teenager, which is a story of the sometimes hidden, often minoritary, and sometimes lightning, modern and democratic Islam. I think that it is the battle of our time, the battle of the moderate, democratic, friend to human rights Islam against the Islam of hate, the Islam of obscurity, and the Islam of jihad. So all my life, one of my battles, one of my concerns, one of my deeds was to try to find the thread of this enlightened Islam. I looked for it in Bangladesh when I was in 1971, when I was a little boy, so 20 years old, 22. I looked for it in Afghanistan, in Panjshir. I looked for it in Pakistan when I tried to put my feet in the footsteps of Daniel Pearl, and so on till here. And in Libya, in Bosnia, it is what I did. To try to support, to try to give faces, to give a face to this counter-Islam. And number 2, to give face, yes. To give face is the second point. When you are a documentary maker, at the end of the day, there is 2 ways. And when you are in your editing room, there is 2 sorts of images, and you have documentary makers who become completely enthusiastic and crazy when they see a great landscape, great image, and those who became identically crazy and enthusiastic when they see a great face. I'm the second category. I did my 3 films with faces, with unnamed people to whom I try to give back their name. I try to put in the highlight of my little narrative some anonymous people. The guys who you see at the end of the movie who forgot to die, these great faces of great guys of all ages, old Peshmerga, young Peshmerga, intellectuals, more physical men, and all this for me is absolutely, I'm passionate on that. So, faces, destinies, Islam against Islam. I'm thinking all of that. And I'm thinking probably also, but this is less confessable, I suppose that there is something inside my crazy mind which pursues something else.
You spoke about faces, and the one protagonist in the entire documentary whose face we never see is the ISIS fighters. When they're captured, you don't see their faces.
No, I did not want to show their faces. I did not want, because they condemned themselves to inhumanity. They decided to throw themselves in the night of the infamous man. They went on the dark side of the force, and it is not my role to bring them back to the light, in any sense of the word. So it was a real parti pris. It was a real... I have even been... I have to be completely frank, I filmed some Daesh prisoners, some people of Daesh made prisoners by the Kurds, and well treated by the Kurds, of course. Of course, because they are really Democrats. I did not put them in the movie. It is, in a way, great footage. I think that for any TV network, it would be huge screen value. But I would have been disgusted to do that. The only face you see, the face of a dead man, even that one, I hesitated a lot. I cut it till the end, and I put it at the very last minute, because it was a way to stress my parti pris. So no, they had to remain faceless. For me, it was a rule. And my point of view, the other thing, is that I made a partisan film. I'm not a journalist. I'm not a man of 50-50. I did not make this movie in order to say 30 seconds for the Jews and 30 seconds for Hitler. I made this movie on support of the Peshmergas, to try to contribute, even if it is in a very, very little part, to contribute to their glory and to their combat. So there was no question of... there is a very famous, rather famous quote of movie maker François Truffaut, who is a great movie maker, who said that a good filmmaker must always give a chance to all his characters, even the worst, even the villains. He has to give them a chance. I suppose I'm not a good filmmaker because I did not give a chance to my bad guys.
I could go on with the conversation. I'm sure there's a lot of questions. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. We have another screening at 8:30. So again, many, many thanks for coming to New York and for this wonderful, really outstanding movie.